I'm good, thank you. Where are you right now?
I'm from India, South India.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Very nice. What time is it there?
It's 8 p.m., 8 5
8
p.m.
p.m. Oh, okay, nice, nice, nice. So, what's your channel about? Can you tell me a little bit about it just so I know? I watched some of your videos. They're very cool. I love that you take everyone from all over the world. It's really neat.
So my channel is about talking with different country people who are into different professions. So actually,
Very
I'm
cool.
I'm a software engineering student. I mean, I've done my master's in software engineering, and
Nice.
to have this practical experience to understand the mindsets of the people who are into different professions. I think communication is very important in for me to be in
Absolutely.
IT. So I thought, why can't I know what people think in different parts of the world and know the experiences of them? Maybe it helps me in growing. At the same time, if they are writing some books or if they have something to tell, so I will tell through my medium, through my social media, through my YouTube channel, to my podcast. So this is what I do. It's
Very
not my full
cool.
time job. It's not
No,
my
no,
full
no.
time job. So I do this just to awareness and creating positive environment.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that you connect so many engineers from all over the world too. Like, I got to see interviews on your channel with people I probably never would speak to or hear about from. So it's really cool.
So I also thought to introduce and tell about you to my audience.
Sure.
So can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Sophia, and I am a chemical engineering student, graduating student at the University of Toronto. So I'm in my final year, and I'm really excited to graduate. I won't lie, school was definitely challenging, as I'm sure you can relate. So just being ready for the workforce and ready to get into working and leaving school is really, really exciting and hopefully making some money now. Um, but yeah, that's just me as an engineering student. And yeah, I did a co-op last year, so a 16-month work co-op at a hydrogen company, which I really, really enjoyed. And I'm thinking hydrogen or renewable energy is where I'd like to end up and continue as a career path. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So interesting. So as a engineering, as a person who was into engineering, I know what it is, how it will be. So what made you to take this stream, chemical engineering? Who inspired you? What is your motivation?
Interestingly enough, I was very, very young, and the garbage trucks actually that came and picked up the garbage in my little city where I grew up, actually ran on the compost that they picked up. So they converted the compost to fuel. And I thought that was so fascinating at like age 9. So I was like, how do they do that? What's going on? And I was asking my parents, I'm like, who does that? And my parents were like, oh, probably some engineers. Like, we're not sure. They're not engineers. So they were like, maybe, we don't know. And so from there, I was like, I think that's what I want to do. And I was never too much into coding. Like, I took a couple coding classes in high school and I didn't like it very much. So I knew that software engineering wasn't going to be for me. And then it was a toss up between mechanical or chemical. And just kind of by flip of a coin, really, I chose chemical. But they're very similar. So if I had gone into mechanical, I'm sure I would be in a similar kind of field. But yeah, it was the garbage that inspired me.
So so from the garbage we create fuel.
Yeah, the compost, not like your like, things you throw out like containers or plastics, but like your food waste. And your food waste, yeah, they actually, I don't know how yet. Maybe I'll figure that out one day. But that's how they used that's how what they used for fuel was to run the garbage trucks using compost and I guess a mix of like biofuel, vegetable oil or something like that. But I just remember a big sign on the side of the garbage truck, and I was like, this truck runs on compost. And I was like, oh, that's so neat. I didn't know they could do that. So yeah, very neat. But I mean, it's definitely a process because a lot of people don't compost correctly, but it is what it is.
So I'm sure you will be knowing all the chemicals because your subject is that. And are you final year student?
Pardon?
Are you final year student?
Yeah, and this is my last year.
Okay, 4 years it will be,
Um,
right?
yeah, so it's technically 4 years, but I took a year to work and do a co-op, so it made it 5 years. But chemical engineering is like not like chemistry. I feel like that's a very big misconception. They need to change chemical engineering, I think, to process engineering because everyone who goes into chem is like, I chose chem because I love chemistry. And you don't really do chemistry in chemical engineering. It's mostly process engineering. It's looking at a bigger picture of like a plant, maybe like a production plant, and then you're figuring out, how things move through the plant from start to finish. So you already have the reaction, like you already know what you're making. You're not trying to figure that out. You're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we turn rosin, for example, into polyurethane, something like that. Polymer plants, stuff like that. So it's more of a process thinking rather than just pure chemistry. So if you like chemistry, don't be fooled by chemical engineering because it's not very chemistry based. Um, it's more process based.
My grandfather is a veterinary doctor, so he used to tell me about a lot about chemical engineering few years
How did
back.
he know so much?
I mean, he's into biology and he's into science. So his
Okay, very
background
cool.
is science. So my background is completely technology. So
Right.
so whenever
So
I'm
it's
free,
different,
yeah, it's completely different. So whenever
completely
I'm
different.
free, I used to listen to him. So whatever you're saying, he used to say that.
Oh, that's good. Well, good thing I'm right. Yeah, but even software engineering, like what you guys do, no idea. I only know how to code a little bit, and then I leave that to you guys, though.
So so have you done your project, final year project?
I'm actually working on it right now, and it is going to be a lot of work. Most of the teams are usually 5 to 6 people, and my team only has four, which is fine. We can still do it, but it's definitely proves to be a bit more challenging with only 4 people, especially because of the amount of work. And the way that it works at the University of Toronto is it's just one semester, so it runs from beginning of September till the beginning of December. I know that most universities take the whole year, but chemical engineers at the University of Toronto, you actually have the option to do a plant design, which is similar to your final year project, and it counts as that credit, but it is only one semester. And so you get a project and a team you're assigned to, and you get to choose the topic. So I chose specialty chemicals or green chemicals or green energy, and it's a production plant for actually making a disoconate. I always pronounce that wrong, and my TA always tells me, Sophia, this is how you pronounce it. Anyway, so we have to design an entire plant from basically start to like pre-actual production um, for a plant that makes a certain kind of chemical, but green chemicals. So it doesn't use any oil and gas. It uses actually rosin as the starting base. So it's pretty cool. It's going to be challenging. I'm doing the AutoCAD part, so all of the PNIDs, the PFDs, BFDs, all that stuff. And then we have to do the process economics. We have to do the mole mass energy balances, a plant design, a 2D plant layout, safety and environmental assessment. So it's like the whole thing, and in 3 months. So it's definitely going to be my most challenging class for sure. But I'm looking forward to it because you really get to apply all of the things that you've learned from your first 4 years or 3 years into your final year and working in a team and project managing. I'm also the project manager for this. So lots of leadership and making sure you're organizing your time and, you know, making sure people get their stuff done and maybe bugging them a little bit if they don't. So it should be a roller coaster for sure. It's definitely not easy. What about your final project? Did you have to do that for your year as well?
Yeah, I did my project. Like you said, you have four members in your team, and I have three. And
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, I took the initiative, and it is our choice to be leader. So I thought, so I was very selfish when I was a student. When I was doing it, I want to learn everything. I want,
Right.
if I take initiative, I can learn more. It is very important for me to understand the complete project, even the small things, because if they ask, if the two members comes and ask me, I have to explain them, and they will ask me multiple questions about it. So it's very important for me to understand the complete project, and so it becomes mandatory for me. So that selfish nature of mine made me to understand the project, and it was like 3 months project, and I did it in like 15 to 20 days. I've completed. I did it in a government organization here,
Oh
which is
wow,
called
okay.
as ECIL. So I did project there. So I we used to have a guide, and he used to tell us how to do, what are the softwares that we needed, and how the modules are, and how we need to create. So it's like, I don't know whether you will understand. I have to create all the web pages for the website. It is
Yeah,
called, my project name is Crime Report Management System, which
okay.
means a civilian, any normal ordinary person can just give complaint, the police complaint online. They don't need to go to the place physically. They just can open this website and can give. And we have to create the user interface, and we have to create the server, and we have to connect. There'll be a lot of things. So it was, like you said, the the motivation of yours. You have seen something and you decided to become an chemical engineer. So, but after entering to the engineering, I it was interesting for me. So I thought, my mind became logical. I'm a professional cricketer too. I played for
Oh
state
cool.
level cricket here in my country. So I was a leader. I was a captain all the time for my engineering college. So when you are a cricketer, it is very important for you to be extremely logical. So actually, that logical thinking helped me in my engineering, and doing projects, giving seminars, and interacting and everything. So it went very easy. I enjoyed a lot. Actually, I enjoyed a lot learning. Then master's project also. It was about. Uh, it was like social. Like Facebook. I created a website called, just like Facebook, a social network. That was about me. But you're here to tell about you. I'm telling more about me.
No, but I love to hear it because I don't really get the opportunity to talk with engineers from other parts of the world. So, like most of the engineers at my co-op were either from University of Toronto or University of McMaster, which is also in Ontario, Canada. If you're familiar with Ontario at all, probably not. But anyway, yeah, the it's rare that you get to hear from other engineers outside of kind of North America. I'm part of a couple engineering programs that have outreach across North America, but again, like not really into South America or um, Asia, anywhere like that. And it's a nice perspective. It's nice to hear kind of some of the projects and actually how similar it is. Like you guys have your final projects as well, and it's shorter. It's only like 20 days, you said, but I wish mine was only 20 days. But still really need to hear that. So very cool.
So you observe the projects related to your engineering. Uh, do you see in the internet, or do you observe people who are already into chemical engineering and done a lot of projects for the betterment of this planet?
Yeah, for sure. The company that I worked with, it was all about green hydrogen and how we can harness hydrogen to use it in all aspects of our life, as we look for new ways to find alternatives to oil and gas and fossil fuels. So there were some really fantastic engineers that I worked with there. In particular, my, I guess, supervisor, he is an electrochemist, and he was really brilliant. He knew so much, and he was just such a fantastic leader. And it's great to have someone like that who inspires you and makes you want to work harder and shows you new ways to do things. So he actually really inspired me to continue in the hydrogen business, or like the renewables. So yeah, big, big role model for sure is him. He really just so great to work with, fantastic leader. And really, if you asked him for help or anything, he really took the time to help you and help you grow, help you learn. And he's just so knowledgeable. So any time that I had with him was really important because I just learned so much. So I definitely would recommend to anyone who's a student, especially watching this, is if you can take a co-op or a work year, 100,000 million percent do it. And even if you don't like it, then you know that you don't want to do that after, right? Because I had been so sure I was following a different engineering path before I went into this co-op. And then now that I finished it, I was like, no, I actually want to stay in this path. And this was something that I never thought I would want to continue with. So definitely, I would say to, yeah, students, take the time to do one or two co-ops if you can. If you can, something that's longer than 4 months, because I feel like 4 months you don't really get that full grasp of the work. But if you're there for at least 8 months, you really understand what it's like, and you'll really figure out what you like and don't like. And if you hate it, great. Now you know you don't want to go back and do that. So it's really valuable. I have some friends who hated their 16-month co-ops, but they're like so happy because they thought that's what they were going to do. And they're just like, I'm so happy I only had to do it for 16 months. Otherwise, I would be miserable if this was my career path. You know what I mean? And it gives you great experience. Lots of jobs love to see that an engineer graduating has some experience already, even if it's not exactly in your career path, but that there are so many transferable soft skills that are so important. Like you said, communication, leadership skills, initiative. So definitely recommend the co-op if you can.
So do you have anything particular that you like in chemical engineering?
Yeah, in terms of classes, I really enjoyed the process class that I did, which was in, I guess there were a couple, we have like different variations of like separation processes, process engineering, process controls. Those are really interesting. And then, so electrochemistry, we did like the introduction to electrochemistry in organic chemistry in second year. And I didn't do too well in that class at all, but it was very applicable for my work. So I'm hopefully will be taking some more in-depth classes next semester on that. Um, and then we'll see, hopefully pursuing electrochemistry or renewable energy, a career in that space.
You said you're working as well. So your work is related to the project that you're doing?
So I work part-time at the company that I worked at for my co-op. So that's very, very different than what I do for my, well, it's not totally different, but my plant design or like my capstone, my final year project, I'm doing the AutoCAD for that and the project management. And at my part-time job, I work more on the intellectual property, so managing the intellectual property for the company, which is also very neat. It's allowed me to connect kind of the engineering aspects of our designs and technology into patents and into trade secrets and into the intellectual property of the company. It's very interesting. It's a very unique crossover. And that was also a fantastic experience being able to kind of lead that committee at work. So very different, but definitely soft skills transferable. So leadership and communication, stuff like that.
So in this engineering life, what you learned?
What did I learn in my engineering life? One thing that I think I kind of regret that I didn't do more of was join some more design teams. I'm not sure if you have design team clubs yet in at your school, but I definitely regret not joining one sooner. I think they're really, really value added to skills. You'll learn a lot of things that you don't learn in class, and you get some really cool hands-on experience. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend and that I wish I did. But I still joined some other clubs, and through there, I definitely learned time management, as you know, managing school and managing your club, communication skills, and it was a really great opportunity to connect with other engineers in other disciplines. So if there's anything, yeah, I learned, it would be join or take advantage of what the university has to offer. They really have all of these amazing clubs and opportunities for you, and they're there for you to use and take advantage of and enjoy. So definitely that is what I would suggest to anyone. Um, but in terms of school, I think you don't learn anything specific, like you do, but you kind of develop like an engineering brain. You probably have felt that or understood that. But like for instance, I had a question from a first year very recently, and they're starting their like Civ 100 class, which is like mechanics class. And I didn't do very well in that class at all my first year, but I was looking at this question and I was like, wait, I can actually figure this out. And it's something you just kind of like develop it. You kind of look at something and you realize, okay, I don't know 100% how to do this, but there's a process that I can do to figure it out. And I didn't have that skill and that mindset in first year, but now that I'm in my fifth year, I definitely feel that I've developed that and I'm able to look at a question I've never seen before or have seen a really long time ago and be like, okay, here's how we can figure this out. You know what I mean? So that's something that I think is really neat about being an engineer and how they teach you at university.
You said you are interested in other engineering disciplines. I mean, other streams too. So what do you understand uh, uh, that is common in all the engineering streams?
What is common in all of the engineering streams? That's a good question. Um, I think at the end of the day, no matter what kind of engineer you are, you're going to have to work with other engineers. Um, and that's just a fact. Even if you're a software engineer, if you're a mechanical engineer, there's going to be some time when you're in your career and you're working with other engineers um, who are going to have different ideas or different opinions. And I think the crossover is really, trying to understand and consider what the other engineer is trying to tell you, what they're trying to um, go about. Because, a mechanical engineer might have a very different design idea than a chemical engineer if you're working on, let's say, like designing a process plant. And that's fine, but both are very value added. Both have a lot of knowledge, and there definitely needs to be some crossover and consideration on both sides. I've found that sometimes, one engineering discipline may think they're better than the other because they know a couple more things that one discipline doesn't. And, that's not true because there's so much value in each discipline that needs to be considered. I mean, when you work in teams, um, you really need to consider what everyone else has to bring to the table. So I would say, yeah, teamwork across all engineering disciplines. You're going to have to be working with other players in the game, and it's important that you respect them and listen to their ideas, and foster an environment where everyone feels supported and excited to bring their ideas to the table.
Awesome. So, as a person who is into software engineering and who did masters in software engineering, as a software engineer, my take on softwares and my point of view and what I want to change as a software engineer, what exactly there already in the world, what exactly there in the market. So I will be having uh, something in my mind which I don't like or which I want to change, which I want to reconstruct, or else I want to just put some inputs and look it in different ways. So like that, I will have my own uh, uh, thoughts about my stream that I want to create impact with my thoughts in this discipline. So like that, what you have as a chemical engineer, what you want to change, what is chemical engineering and what already is there in the market and what you want to uh, do changes and what will help the world, uh, uh, which helps human beings or other species because of your stream.
So I think chemical engineers, just to kind of start off, they get a bit of a bad reputation because a lot of people assume, or some people may associate chemical engineers with oil and gas and fossil fuels, which isn't terrible to make that association. A ton of chemical engineers, especially in Canada, go to work in Alberta where there's lots of oil fields and make a career out of petroleum and processing and oil and gas. That's totally cool. But as we see the need for more renewable energies come up, there's actually been a whole wave of chemical engineers exploring renewable energies, such as myself. So you'll see chemical engineers, instead of going into oil and gas, they're actually going to fight climate change through renewable energies, such as hydrogen. Carbon capture is a really neat one. Um, you know, there's some that have been around for a while, like hydroelectricity, solar power, wind turbines, and that's all great. But the energy that's harnessed from especially wind turbines and solar energy isn't particularly enough. So we're looking at new ways to, find ways to power our cities. And I think that's what is coming about for these new graduating chemical engineers is, okay, how can we um, how can we harness, natural resources or renewable energies into ways that we can supply electricity to huge cities? So I think that's probably something you'll see more of. And like even in the last few years, I'm seeing more and more electrochemistry positions, which is something that wasn't entirely a big field a while ago, especially when oil and gas was so hot in Canada not too long ago. And you're starting to see these electrochemists kind of pop up, and there's full-time positions for electrochemists at like Mercedes, at Tesla for fuel cell engineering. And that's something that you wouldn't have seen, not too many years ago. So it's really cool to see not only, chemical engineers in the energy sector, but also in the automotive sector where um, car manufacturers are making cars with fuel cells or hydrogen, or looking at, electric cars. Obviously, electric cars are a thing, but it's really neat to see chemical engineers starting to influence and enter these other industries that typically you wouldn't see a chemical engineer in. So it's definitely really neat to see how this climate change and this urgency for finding new ways of electricity has like spawned more need for chemical engineers in very non-chemical engineering positions, or non-usual chemical engineering positions, I should say. So yeah, that's been very, very cool to see, and I'm excited to see where that takes us. And for new chemical engineers entering their universities and their programs, like you're not just limited to oil and gas anymore. There's so much potential for so many different industries that you can go into now.
So, what is the greatest quality that you have as an engineer, and what do you think that is working for you to be successful, and what is making you to wake up in the morning and do a lot of things?
Well, I think what motivates me the most is definitely my family. My parents, no one, not a single person on my dad's side or my mom's side is an engineer. Maybe like generations ago, but not that I know of. So I'm the only soon to be engineer in my family, and just how excited they are for me and how happy they are, especially when my grandparents grew up and they didn't have very much as immigrants to Canada. So it's really special to see them so proud of me and so excited for me. So they're definitely a motivating factor, and even in my work, I want to do and make them proud, and so that's probably what gets me up in the morning and motivating. But in terms of my greatest quality, I would say creativity. I find, engineers are very creative. There's space for them to create, whether it's innovation. So many engineers have patents and have made so many very cool things, but I think that's a very underrated kind of skill. I mean, it seems obvious that an engineer should be creative because they're supposed to be innovating all the time. But in the same token, a lot of jobs that you might find in industry are they've already been established, so you just kind of go through routines, and there isn't a ton of room for creativity. But I think that's something that definitely needs to be developed and encouraged more in universities, because obviously there's that engineering factor. You need to know how to integrate, you need to know how to use AutoCAD and all that, but you also need to be able to foster creativity in your engineers, because this is the new generation of innovators and creators. So having more space for them to be creative, I think, is definitely important.
So, last question is, tell me about chemical engineering impact on Canada.
Chemical engineering impact on Canada. Well, interestingly enough, chemical engineering has two sides of the coin. So there's that oil and gas in Alberta. And Alberta is one of the provinces in Canada, and used to be sort of now, but very heavy in oil and gas and fossil fuels, stuff like that. So that's been, chemical engineers have had an impact there. Also in Saskatchewan, there's potash, so chemical engineers go there as well. And then recently, like I said earlier, hydrogen has kind of started booming in Canada. And it's not specific to just chemical engineers, but it definitely is a field that many chemical engineers are now pursuing. In Vancouver, British Columbia, there's a ton of hydrogen companies sparking up. Even in Ontario here, several hydrogen companies, a couple carbon capture. And that's really neat. It's actually, I read an article and it was saying how Vancouver, or Burnaby, British Columbia, is actually starting to become like the hydrogen Silicon Valley, which is really, really neat to see that Canada has like a foot in the door in the hydrogen sector. So there's definitely that contribution from chemical engineers and mechanical engineers. There's more than just chems there. But yeah, if you're a chemical engineer and you want in the energy sector, that's a great path to take is hydrogen, because there are so many really cool options in Canada now.
So at last, have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube, and what is your observation on my work? And tell me about my questioning in this conversation.
For sure. First of all, like I said earlier, I really, really love how you bring in all kinds of engineers from around the world. So not just, experienced professionals, but people like myself who are students still. You have master students, you have people been in the industry for years and years, men, women, all, ethnicities. It's really, really cool to be able to feel like you're in a conversation with those engineers, and it's very unique. It's not something you see, or at least I haven't seen yet. And if I can bring some traction to your page, that would be awesome, because it really is cool to hear what other people around the world are doing. Like, what are other chemical engineers doing around the world? I have no idea, but I have a little bit of an idea now that I've watched on your YouTube. So I think that's really, really fabulous, and I think that's a great initiative by yourself that's been taken. So
It also shows the I mean, your way of thinking, taking a decision to talk with me, because I'm not a chemical engineer, but you still decided to talk with the engineer, or the person who is not into chemical engineering. That shows you want to step out from your zone to and to know what is happening in other people's life or experiences or in their profession. So that's, I really appreciate you being a student and taking. I didn't took a decision that you took now, but
yeah,
that's really a great thing. I'm sure in coming days you're going to do a lot of projects in your profession and also help other um, uh, engineering people, like maybe software engineers, other electrical electronics. So I'm sure you'll become one of the, I mean, like an Elon Musk, like you mentioned, Tesla. So
yeah.
he he worked in Canada. So I'm sure. So if one more thing that is connected with Canada with me is I got a job opportunity in Canada as an IT director.
Very
So
cool. Recently?
yeah, recently,
Oh wow.
like in last 1 year, I started this video series. So talking with different country people, I just did like 500 plus interviews by seeing this, and also the websites that I have. I created my own websites. I developed, like I developed my mobile applications, Android mobile applications. So that's all that, and they offered me, and I'm very happy. So
Are you gonna come to Canada?
yeah, I'm going to come and I'm going to work
When?
with
When?
Canadians.
Where are you gonna be working?
I don't have exact. I think 100%. I think I'm going to be in Toronto or Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah, in British
Very
Columbia.
cool.
I also got
Very
ECA. I applied ECA and I got it, and my master's degree is equal to your master's degree there, and I got it
Oh,
and I applied. So that's what
cool.
happened in last 1 year.
Congratulations. That's really exciting. Hopefully this is what you're wanting to do and you're excited about it. That's awesome. I think you'll really like, I mean, I grew up in Vancouver and now I'm in Toronto for school, so I can say neither is a wrong choice, and I'm sure you will love either city. They're awesome. So, yeah, that's really exciting. Well, you'll have to let me know if when you come to Canada.
Definitely, and I'll
Definitely.
do videos from there. I'll take interviews from there.
You will. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. That's awesome.
So, can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
For sure, yeah.
And also, can I put this video and audio clip on my social media, internet, podcast, website, everywhere with your permission?
Sure.
And at last, any message to engineers and students who wants to come into chemical engineering or engineering? Do you have any message to them? To any person who is watching or hearing you from anywhere on this planet?
Definitely for, I guess, student engineers, I would just say it's going to get really hard, um, but it's very worth it. You know, don't give up. And if you need help, engineers are some of the friendliest and most welcoming community of people I've ever met. So if you ever need any help, your engineers will be there for you. They are all in it together. They know the collective struggle of school, and yeah, if you need help and you're struggling, they are there for you and want to help you and want to see you flourish. So don't give up and just look for help in your community because it definitely is there.
So thank you, Sophia, for giving me your valuable time and spending your valuable experience and also answering questions of mine and telling about you to about yourself to my audience.
Thank you so much, Sai, for having me. It was really fun to do this today.
Keep going, keep doing what you love.
Thank you. You too. And good luck moving and, starting your job. And that's amazing. And good luck completing your master's.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.